What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Bingetown TV and our coverage of Netflix's YuYu Hakusho, live action YuYu Hakusho. So this is the finale, episode 5, which I don't know how many times that's ever been uttered in the same sentence before, but that's what it is, episode 5 finale. And the fight we've kind of been waiting for, the fight we've been on this track towards for the past, I guess, at least 3 to arguably 4 episodes, was given to us this episode. Again, in my opinion, the choreography continues to be the standout of this show. I think we'll maybe have some differing opinions on our thoughts on maybe the conclusion of this and the story and everything like that. Although I'm only saying that because finales rather are naturally a little bit decisive. So I think we could just start off maybe with just like overall takes, and then we'll get into talking about the fight, the different stages of the fight all at once, and then we can talk about a little aftermath slash what comes next type of deal. But just maybe just general thoughts on how we're feeling.
Go ahead, Alk. I want you to go first.
I thought that the fight was good. Um, I was uh the direction of the show was clear. I think I liked Koenma's intervention with the fight. I thought it was interesting how Psycho was actually going to throw the fight at first just so that they could steal the bettor's money, but then everything changed. Um, Oh my God, what's the brother's name?
Toguro.
Toguro.
It's elder and
Yeah,
younger.
the younger Toguro. I thought his transformation was pretty. I mean, they did a good job. It was satisfying. I thought it was a little just like quick. We complained a little bit about early episode 3 or 4 when the training happened, how it happened like this, and I felt like it really was. Um, it proved to be not enough in this episode. I mean, but they worked with what they got and they did a fine job. Honestly, the conclusion of the fight was okay. The explanation of everything after, I liked the little her Togoro's encounter with Genkai in heaven. I thought that was fulfilling. And I guess I appreciated Togoro's respect for Yu Yu Hakusho by the end of his bout with him. End of Urameshi.
Yeah, there you go.
Although I'm sure at some level he probably respects the show too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fine. I mean, it's just like I wanted Urameshi to just kind of beat him on his own. I was surprised to see Elder Toguro get vaporized and pulverized by his own brother, which I guess is not really his brother. And I wanted Karabura to like beat him outright. I'm sure that's how it happened in the manga. Yeah, it just they tried to jam pack this like whole arc into 5 episodes, and it probably needed a few other episodes. That's all.
Um, yeah, I can't really disagree with too much with what you were saying, Alk. I will say though, however, to kind of say, I guess, paint a lighter picture on everything is I was honestly pretty hyped throughout this episode. I was finding myself kind of getting very invested into each of the fights and each of the characters at certain moments, and I was definitely feeling the hype for certain moments. That being said, I think the only big problem is what you said, Alec, and what we said in the last episode is just that the training arc just didn't feel like they were ready to fight Toguro. And countering with what you said that you didn't like how they beat him together, I felt like that was kind of needed almost for them to beat it, for them to beat Toguro. So
True. Yeah, it was definitely needed. It shouldn't have been.
yeah, like I don't think it should have been Yusuke one on one. I think he just gets worked every time. But honestly, pretty solid episode. I mean, Alki and I kind of talked briefly about it off pod. Like, I don't think this. I'm not going to go out and recommend this to everyone out there. You know, this isn't a podcast for everyone. But if you're a fan of anime and you haven't read Yu Yu before, and like you tell me that, I would probably recommend you to watch this show. I think it's a quick 5 hours that honestly, to get a feel of the new age of live action that's coming out, I think it's honestly a good display of it in certain aspects of it. Again, wouldn't recommend this to like an average TV viewer, but honestly, for those who are into anime, I think it's worth a shot, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it would be a really nice 5 episode binge.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly. I
not
think
much of a binger myself, even though
Mhm.
we're currently on our podcast titled Binge Town TV, but I'm not really usually someone that bangs out episode after episode after episode after episode after episode. But I think this actually would be doing it straight 5 episodes. I'm sure would be a nice ride, and
Mhm.
maybe it wouldn't feel almost paradoxically, maybe it wouldn't feel so rushed if you like had that continuous story, almost watching it like a super long movie.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just felt it lacked some of that. Like the relationships were not built up
Yeah.
enough. Built up
Yeah, I would
enough.
say
That's really
by
all
the
it
end when
is.
Hiei's like, "Oh, those are my friends," I'm like, "Yeah, are
Like
they your
what,
friends?"
bro?
Yeah.
You were just saying
Yeah.
like, "Don't fuck, I'm not doing this for you." Like literally 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You know
Besides,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah,
But
I think
overall, I
him.
still think it did it justice. I would say.
Yeah, him, and then Togo's story's cool.
Dude, I was
It's
loving
just
the end of it.
yeah, it's just kind of jam packed and everything, and it was just kind of it felt like the punch itself could have hit a little harder. Okay, so we're gonna have, I mean, like we're already going with this
Mhm.
fairly loose structure, just trying to maybe guide ourselves a little bit just towards the fight itself and maybe less of the aftermath. So we kind of have multiple stages of the fight. We kind of stage one is essentially Yusuke and younger Toguro 1v1, and then we have Kuwabara. Oh, I'm sorry, we have and then Hiei and Kurama come in, and then Kuwabara and Elder Toguro find their way in there, and then we have younger Toguro kind of take his final transformation as the, I guess you could say, final act of the fight. A lot of punches are thrown. One thing I think for me, just to start off the conversation, I guess we can say, I liked the choreography, the choice that he being younger Toguro would like punch Yusuke across the room and then immediately sprint after him.
Mhm.
You know, like taking that opportunity to do that. It just felt realistic versus like punching him and being like satisfied with just sending him across the room and then like letting him stand back up again. Obviously, there's a little bit of that going on, but I just thought the speed of the fight was good.
Yeah, I think Togoro's honestly I really liked him as a villain. To be honest, I think his
Yeah.
design is really cool. The way he can just beef himself up, and if anyone who listens to our podcast knows, I'm obsessed with like the strongest, and he definitely falls in that category for me. And the way he's just mopping the floor with those three at first, I love it. I love when we get an OP villain for sure.
Yeah, he was what I expected. You know, they needed to struggle with him. He's supposed to be like this like big baddie. And he definitely was. I thought it was like interesting when Kurama and Hiei are like holding his legs back. Like he should have just been able to fucking sling them across the country. You
Yeah.
know, when they were doing that, I was just like, come on.
Yeah.
But that's something I'm expecting as an anime watcher and manga reader. Like
That's like
that doesn't fucking happen, and you can't expect every single thing from that world to come out in the live action. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
it just
Um,
feels like one of those tropey anime things where it's just okay, they've exhausted themselves to no end that they're just gonna willingly just kind of just run up to them and just like try and stop them from advancing. It, yeah, he should have just been able to, based
whatever,
off his
like,
strength, he should have been able to
yeah.
definitely throw them across the country. But
The thing is
The country.
like he was after the spear wave orb, right? That's like a big thing for him. Well, he's after the strongest or whatever, but he wanted that. He's like asking Yusuke about it, and Yusuke's like, "Yeah, I do have this thing," and it's like in the back of our minds, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, sorry, it's not in the back of our minds. Enough. I felt like it wasn't. It's like a big deal, and he needed it to beat Toguro, and we didn't get any training with it. She just kind of dumped it on him because she knew that like they had to dip or else they were all gonna die. I
Yeah.
don't know. I just
That's tough.
I felt
That
like that was likely an important piece of the manga, and it was not important enough in the live action, and I was just a little disappointed in that as well.
yeah, in the manga, so like I've said a couple times too, this is called the Dark Tournament arc. Or is it the Dark Tournament Saga? I think Saga. But essentially it's like a really structured like Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball tournament where there's the classic checkerboard, stone, square, and like we're just throwing hands 1v1. We have our squad, and then we advance to round 2, we advance to round 3.
And let
And
me guess, they lose, right? And then they
no,
Oh,
they win.
fuck, all right.
But I mean, they win kind of in this sense of like, Kuwabara fights Elder Toguro like he does here. That's just not as structured as it is in the manga, I guess you could say. But um he being Yusuke misses like the semifinals essentially because he gets the spirit wave orb from Genkai and it like almost kills him. He's like struggling over time to like I don't want to say bend it to its will, but like actually like his
Point
body
to
to
it.
accept it and like absorb it and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So people were upset that it just like she just kind of gave it to him and it was like that was it. Because in the manga it's like a struggle where like he has to work for it almost, you could say, in a sense. And like, again, here, they don't really talk about it at all. Like, we know Toguro wants it. We know Genkai gave it to him, and that's kind of it. And we kind of get it implicitly, I guess, that it's giving him this upgrade in spiritual energy and control, but there's
Mhm.
really not a lot that we know about it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at that point, like it could have just not been a part of the story at all, and I wouldn't have even felt a void. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Anyway, I don't mean to bash this. Like,
No.
it's. I'm not really bashing it. It's just it's an observation of a 5 episode
It's a
show.
legitimate criticism, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, and there were a lot of great parts of the show, and it also has been a little bit of a hiatus since I watched episodes 1 through 4. So I think like that stuff isn't so fresh in my mind, and the impact is a little bit diminished. With that being said, the whole ride itself, like it's a good 5 hour movie.
Yeah.
You know what
Did
I'm
you,
saying?
did you see where he was hitting Yusuke with that iron claw for like a second?
Yes.
I was like, look at this guy. He's fucking hit him with the iron claw. That was funny.
Oh right,
But
yeah, from the movie. Oh, yeah.
yeah. So
I will say like if this live action adaptation has done anything for me, it has made me interested in the original story
Oh,
and
first thing I
like
did after
reading a
this
manga
episode.
or the anime, and I'm like, okay, that's and I'm excited to dive into that eventually. So that's I think a very strong positive. It definitely didn't turn me
yeah,
off from the story. I mean, I would rate the show. I mean, maybe I'm gonna save that to the end, but
yeah,
it's
that's a good
definitely
idea.
not like a bad rating.
I immediately after watching this episode went to YouTube and looked up Urameshi versus Toguro from the anime version. Honestly, pretty similar things. Like Yusuke hits him with the spirit gun first, and he kind of gets blasted away, but comes back all amped up, and then he has the transformation. Like it is very similar. And again, it's just of course the anime and manga are just going to have it a little bit more fleshed out in terms of Yusuke's
Yeah.
strength. But honestly, in terms of like correlation, it was pretty good. And I mean, the anime fight was actually pretty dope too, if I'm being honest. And Toguro looked pretty. The adaptation was pretty good. I'll be honest.
When he does the 100% and then the 100% of 100%.
Yeah.
I was laughing at that. They had the pictures of his transformation. It's like 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, 100%, 100% of 100%.
100%. Yeah. They honestly
That's
toned
funny.
down
Like,
how
yeah.
how ridiculous he
Yeah.
looked in the
Yeah.
anime than they did. Which and I appreciate it for the live action, to be
I
honest.
thought it looked fine. Like
I mean,
his muscle
in the
fiber.
anime, he has like ridiculous shoulder pads. Like
Yeah.
they're so bad.
He
to be
honestly
honest.
looked like almost like a live action armored titan.
Yes.
Yes. Which was
Here.
He
great.
looked a little
Yeah.
bit like a Titan. He reminded me of a Titan.
Yeah, which
It
is
looked
pretty cool.
fine. Like it's very challenging to bring it to make it come off the screen, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Mhm.
I applaud them for trying, and
Yeah.
there've been some great live actions leading up to this one. They have been some big shoes to fill between
That-
One Piece, Alice and Borderland. People really like the Rurouni Kenshin live action,
Yeah.
which I've never watched, but apparently it's a pretty good. It does it like the source material justice. So
I feel like at the same
Yeah,
time that for
I enjoyed
those
it.
kinds of live actions, when it's more based in reality, they're a little easier to do. Where when you're doing Dragon Ball live action and it's just
Yeah.
they're moving at ridiculous speeds and like
Yeah,
that's when it can get a
Kenshin-
little tough.
Kenshin, I feel like their biggest obstacle is probably like the speed of movement and things like that. Here, I feel like his transformation into this beast of a being was probably their biggest challenge. I would say visually, because I think like Elder Toguro, the use of his powers looked cool, looked seamless,
Mhm.
looked very, I guess you could even say realistic for the supernaturalness of it all. I thought again, Kuwabar's sword looked sick in this episode. All that stuff worked well. Yeah, this must have been the hardest thing for them to try to figure out.
Speaking of his fight, when he like chopped him, he used the spirit sword and all that. Like that was great. I wish that they had a more legit fight. Like he's the
Yeah.
second main character kind of, and Hiei and Kurama on the other hand had like a whole episode for their fights, and his got, you know,
Blended
it
with
was like let's put a
Yusuke's.
bookmark in this, and then Togro's like vaporized his own brother. I felt like if Yusuke had, they basically had the same training, you know, whether you think it was cut short or not. Theoretically, you could argue they're like right here at, they're very close in power level and ability. And they made it seem like Yusuke was like blowing everybody out of the water, which
It's
he
got to be
probably
the spirit
probably
wave orb.
does. Yeah, the Spirit Wave Orb was pretty cool. I liked how he like the spirit guns full force was
Yeah.
really emphasized through the uh like with the spirit orb as well. It was pretty sweet. And that final finishing move was satisfying, I'd say.
Dude, I think Elder Togoro's a problem. His ability is so busted and
Yeah.
he lives. So I mean that's the crazier part about it is he's so if they do end up going with the season 2, which it feels like
Wait,
it,
he lived? I didn't think
yeah,
he
there was
lived.
like a after like if you watch like a minute of the credits, there's an island and his head is just being pecked at by a seagull, basically, and he's alive. Um, I honestly, I think his power is great, and I honestly, as much as I agree with you that Urameshi could have used the full fight and it would have been great for his character, I thought it was a pretty badass and unexpected moment that younger younger
Elder.
yeah, no, younger. I'm forgetting his name already. I'm getting it all blanked up.
Toguro.
Toguro, yes,
Yeah.
younger Toguro just blew him away. I thought that was pretty badass, to be honest. Something I
Yeah.
didn't
Well,
foresee coming.
he was disrespecting Genkai, and he says, I don't know the first word adjective, but I believe it's like, I threw away my humanity, whatever, but I didn't throw away my honor.
Yeah, and I
And
just
it's much more in the manga explicit that like they were in a like an intimate romantic relationship, Toguro and Genkai, when they were younger.
okay.
And then this, he obviously went down the path that he goes down, and he still has some level of feelings and towards her, although he obviously fucking killed her. So
Mhm.
whatever you want to say about that being, but yeah, I thought that the puppet show just threw me off. I didn't expect like her just on his hand. I just thought that looked goofy. There wasn't another way to do it. It was just like, oh, this
I thought it looked good.
clearly
I kind
is.
of liked it. It was
Yeah,
fucked up and made Yusuke physically
yeah,
see the pain I guess she was going through to make it
yeah. And
bring out that anger. Yeah.
Corbara goes Bankai and then tries, and younger Toguro just catches the blade and stomps him out. And I was like, damn.
I liked how you just said he went Bankai.
Even he tried. How about that? He
Um
tried.
man, I was just gonna mention something, but
I have a
uh
question. I'm
I
curious
want. Oh, okay. I
because
wanted to. You ask yours. I have a question for you after.
okay, I'm curious if you guys followed like the steps of Togoro's like life. Like did you understand what happened with the yokai that came, and then why he is the way he is?
All I gathered was that the yokai showed up, killed everybody. He somehow in that moment became a yokai either from I don't really know. I just assumed he
Yeah.
either like consumed that yokai and took its abilities or I have no idea. Like
I
it's there was just such a gap. Like I get that this yokai comes in and fucks up all the students and he gets pissed, but like they're saying, "Oh, he threw away his humanity." It's like, okay, what is that? That's so ambiguous. Like how does he what does that mean? Does he again consume this yokai? Does he let the yokai consume him to overpower? I have no idea. What do you
I
think?
thought he like so this might be a stretch. Okay, he was training with Genkai, their boys and their lovers apparently. He moves on. He has his own dojo, right? Is that true? The
Yeah, they were his students. That's
Right,
what they
they were
said.
students. The yokai, the demon comes and fucks everybody up. He somehow survives. And I connected the dots in my head canon. After he lived, he went and sought out that power and ended up like selling his soul to some kind of something to become what he did,
Yeah, there was definitely
what he became.
a gap in that information.
That seems to be the way they went. And again, I could have missed some lines and some explanation because I went into the wiki to look at it because I was like, I don't know if I missed some lines in the show here or like what happened, because in the source material, the yokai comes and fucks his dojo up, and the yokai looks at him as the master and is like, you need to enroll in the dark tournament. Basically, like invites him to come to the dark tournament. So then, and this is 50 years in the past. So Toguro and his brother, who is actually his real brother, and Genkai go, and they're a team, and they go to the dark tournament to go win it. And Toguro, I mean, because it's supposed to be a parallel where Toguro fights that yokai in the final and kills him to like get revenge for his dojo. And
Okay, even Genkai said like you got your revenge already or something. So that all happened.
To parallel, the fact that Yusuke then obviously goes on that exact journey essentially, where then he fights Toguro in the final and avenges Genkai and does that type of stuff. But essentially, him and his brother, after they win, they're like, oh, like, you know, we want power, so that they like voluntarily become yokai. They like want to take on yokai power, essentially, is like what it comes down to. I again, like I'm saying, I don't know if I missed something in the show, but since this like structured, organized, known entity tournament in like the demon world, or like this, he took those steps in his past, I don't know if they actually fully explained how he became this way.
Yeah, I mean that's so much cooler than what we got in the show. I mean, it was just it was just that, oh yeah, he beat this yokai and then he became one. It's like, okay, well, how
they
did
didn't
that
show
happen?
him beating the yokai. They just showed everyone getting eaten, and then it just seemed like he was angry enough to go get other power in a different way. Like Alkis said, just quite nebulous.
The yokai looked good though.
Had a question. Yes, he did.
I wanted to ask about Elder Toguro. Like, I didn't know if it wasn't clear in the show that it was his biological brother or not. He was not in the flashback.
Yeah. Again, in the show, it doesn't say that it is really, beyond, I guess we have to trust it. But in the manga, the source material, like it's clearly explained that that's like his biological, like that's his brother.
Yeah, because the way
this training journey with Genkai to prepare for the tournament, they like went through the tournament together, and then they both chose as brothers to become yokai.
Because the way Elder Toguro talks to younger Toguro, it's like, you chose to become a yokai, you know, and you know there wasn't really, it didn't feel like it was an actual brother relationship, like actual brothers.
Well,
but
even in like the photo, whatever episode that he attacked Genkai, the photo that we see of them at the dojo, it was clear there was a younger, bigger Toguro and Genkai. I didn't see the other guy. At least he didn't stick out to me. So
yeah, it didn't
like it wasn't explicit, and then he killed him.
yeah,
or tried to. So I learned.
We disrespected baby girl.
But the transformation now, is that what we're getting into?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the next step. Essentially, now that the pupils Yusuke and Kuwabara know that Genkai's dead, it kind of levels them up, I guess you could say, a little bit. Yusuke now is really trying to take control of all of this spirit energy that he has inside of him. He starts to actually like code his punches in the spirit energy, the kicks,
which I was like,
knees.
he need to do that. I was saying to myself, like, bro, fucking use the spirit energy, and he finally does.
Like the slow mo or like connecting, where you can see the impact, where he's like actually catching him on the chin, I thought was satisfying to watch, because it's like, yeah, I can feel the weight of that punch. And then Toguro obviously has more in the tank, so transforms, and it's a whole different chapter. I mean, phase 2.
I think he looks good, man, and I think he looks good. But yeah, I mean, this flew by. I mean, we're halfway through. He has the first transform, or this is the final transformation, I should say. And yeah, I was just, it did
the
feel
air
a little
flick
fast
attacks
paced.
are fucking cool. I thought they looked good.
They looked amazing. I love that. I just love that idea that he's just so strong. He can just flick the air.
Symbolism of it, where it's like, this is literally the only thing I need.
Yeah. I thought it was good.
It's definitely badass. Because I even, like, I'm looking at my notes right now. I even had like, he achieved this by losing to a yokai ? I was like, okay, they didn't really tell us this.
But
he starts to get really philosophical in this phase, in this form too, where he's kind of egging Yusuke on. He's like, yes, like this anger's good, but it's not enough. Like, you lack this sense of urgency. He's starting to question whether Yusuke is like falling back subconsciously on the idea that he can just come back to life, like he's already died and come back once, so like he doesn't really fear death, and he's trying to put that fear of death into him. I thought that was good. I liked the philosophical.
And then he was like, "Do you have it in you to kill your friends?"
He does say too at the end when he's like, "Throw them away."
Yeah.
Like, throw away your friends. They're obstacles.
They're
Like,
holding
need
you
pure
back,
strength. Right? Yeah. Pure strength.
Dude,
And in the end, Yusuke achieved what Toguro could not.
That's correct.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I thought Korobara was done. I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
why.
Oh yeah,
I don't know why.
Pretty big wound, like pretty big.
In the moment, I should have thought like, okay, he had the whole training arc, like, and got the sword. There's no way he should die. But I was just so thrown off by it, and I'm just watching him just eat this fucking fist in his gut, and I'm thinking this might be the end of our boy.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
the
it
sounds,
wasn't.
too. The sounds.
Oh,
the
yeah.
subtitles of squelches. I was like, okay,
Squelches.
And he
I don't
rips
want
out the arm.
squelches as a description, yeah, of like what's going on internally in my body.
But that was
So-
just the bump that Yusuke needed, because I thought this was badass too. Toguro looks behind, sees Yusuke getting up, kind of, I guess, looks away for a second, and Yusuke's gone and just rocks him in the face.
Yeah.
Like that was an anime moment for sure. That was pretty fucking dope.
The choreography just on point, 10 out of 10 the entire time. And
Yeah, I also want to know if like Yusuke must have gotten some kind of speed boost there, I guess, because he was moving, and I like speedy characters too, so I want him to be faster.
it seems like they were like implicitly, I know, like Mullet Man and Enma and Botan, excuse me, geez, second time, are having this conversation in the observation booth kind of at the same time, and they're talking about Enma kind of mentions about his energy, and Botan's like, it's all over the place, it's in flux, and they're trying to, I think, get across this idea that like he's accessing more of it, and the emotions are obviously increasing it, but it's underlain by this sadness that he can't really control, and it's making it chaotic. And so it seems like they were telling us that like he's having access to more and more energy, which is making him stronger, making him faster. He's absorbing hits from a more powerful opponent. It just didn't really come off, I think, explicitly, because we don't really know anything about how power works.
I think that conversation, for me personally, gets helped by Genkai and Togoro's conversation later in whatever the afterlife they're in, because Togoro's kind of explaining that Yusuke's already kind of heading down Togoro's path of, just wanting to seek out more power. So I feel like that conversation really helps. At first I wasn't really, I guess, too grasping the idea of this. Like, his power is so strong, but it's all emanating from sadness. Like, if it emanated from maybe happiness, it would be stronger. But I feel like it's just like that conversation gets helped by the end with just kind of them just being a little wary of Yusuke's power and how much he has, and depending on where it comes from, will choose the path on how he goes, I guess.
And how he kind of directs it himself with
Exactly.
his emotional state. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
And I mean, he is, I guess, sad enough to create this final spirit gun that, I mean, Toguro tanks it, to be honest. It doesn't like blow through him or blow him away or anything. Like, he eats the whole thing, and then he just kind of withers away as a little crispy marshmallow. And I was shocked that that's how it was visualized with the CGI, but I thought, I mean, it looked sick when he's fighting it.
Mm-hmm. I just always get those moments where, the one guy's charging up and it's just the enemy just standing there watching, and it's like, can you just, while he
wanted it though.
Yeah, I guess
he wanted to test himself against it.
You're right. I guess Toguro, in this specific scenario, with Toguro being what he is and what he wanted to achieve, I guess he is willing to wait for that full-on energy blast.
Yeah.
So
otherwise, I'm thinking he wanted nothing less than the full blast.
Because otherwise, I'm thinking, dude, Toguro should just be fucking running up there, and this time that Yusuke's charging up, and just sock it to him one time.
And he thanked him at the end.
Yeah. I really do like the full circle of Togoro's story. I mean, definitely could have been fleshed out way more, but honestly, this and then the conversation with Genkai, like, I really did come to love Togoro's character. And I mean, we didn't really have any of him before this episode.
I did just wears the shades.
Yeah, exactly.
I liked his backstory and story as well. It tied in nicely.
Yeah. I was definitely
Yeah, it
getting
was cool.
emotional with him on the. I keep thinking of Dragon Ball Z, the Dragon
Literally,
Path.
it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah, I guess you're right because it's Enma and they're in.
Yeah, it's
You know,
it's the
yeah,
same thing. They just
yeah.
obviously maybe call it something different, but yeah, I mean, we can even just talk about that. There's a
Scene
nice
now.
little yeah. I mean, there's a nice thread that runs through right there, and we're into kind of the aftermath of things. There's just some scenes to clean up. This obviously being the biggest one of them. So we kind of learned that he voluntarily chose the worst hell.
Which is interesting. I didn't know that's an option.
I mean, they have an interesting kind of reasoning for him. We don't really. He's not going to tell us why, but they're basically saying that he's continuing to punish himself
Mm-hmm.
for not being able to protect his friends. It's what they're saying, but then he also has the interesting thing where he's like, I don't care. Like, I'm grateful for all these experiences. They made me strong. And Genkai says to him, death won't heal you. And he says it doesn't have to. And I was like, okay, that's hard. And he just walks off. I was like, all right, this guy's a fucking badass.
Again, it just reminds me of Shishio from Rurouni Kenshin when Kenshin kills him and Shishio is just like, all right, time to go conquer hell now. And it's like
Yeah, literally.
Toguro, I feel like it's about to do the same fucking thing. He's about to just go down there and accept whatever punishment it is. But I thought it was interesting that you can, I guess maybe he's a specific scenario that he was offered a chance in which quote unquote hell you can go to. But the fact that there's the worst hell is pretty interesting concept.
I guess it's one of those things where the options are there for the opposite reason, where like so that Enma can judge you, but
Mhm.
technically you can judge yourself as well.
Mhm.
In the like only in the negative sense, you can make your sentence worse. Obviously, you can't make your sentence better on your own judgment. So like it's
Mhm.
one of those no one does this, but technically you're allowed to thing.
Mhm.
Is what it feels like.
I mean, he's not only also punishing himself for acting like a complete fucking asshole for 50 years.
Yeah.
Let's face it, right? I mean,
also, I
he
mean,
sold the
maybe
soul to
he's
the literal devil,
maybe
pretty
he's going
much.
down there to fucking get stronger.
I think he's over that now.
Dude, Genkai was crying and he takes off the glasses to say whatever he said, I think right there at the end. I was feeling it just a little bit.
That was the moment where I realized I was like, okay, they probably fucked.
Yeah.
You could tell that she was like, I have a little bit of love for this man. Some
She got
romantic
a
love.
little. We got a little bit of a view of what she looked like as a younger woman, and
Yeah.
she definitely had her days. But was it CGI? It was like CGI.
Probably, yeah. It was
Yeah.
done.
I
Wasn't
think
it?
so.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Like they could just get some fucking chick to go
Yeah,
and say
make
a
it look
line.
realistic.
I guess maybe it was just quick. Like, let's just do this. It might have. I don't know how
I don't know how
expensive
that
CGI is,
seems
but maybe it was
easier.
cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. I have no idea.
But
No idea.
I do. Can we go into the next part?
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
like
I
the
was
final
just gonna
scene, yeah.
just throw out another random little scene.
First things first, like Sakyo Mullet Man killing himself.
Yeah.
I felt that was a little bit underwhelming. Like that was maybe the most underwhelming thing. I think I'm at fault for that. I'm at fault for feeling that way because I was predicting certain things about him and expecting him to be like Yusuke's dad and to have fucking powers and shit, but maybe that just was never in the story, was never written. And I guess I disappointed myself in a sense.
Yeah.
But, he was gone. And I felt it was funny that he just kind of conceded so easily, like he had no trump card. And also, as soon as Toguro lost, like the whole warp portal, like just shut down. Like, how come that, like Toguro being alive or dead has nothing to do with
I
that?
think there must have been like
But
a
it was the
button.
bet they
There
made.
must have been a button that he could just like flick and it would just revert everything kind of
Mhm.
back.
Yeah, I think. Well, first of all, I respect your self awareness, Alki, and second of all, I think that it is, I guess, in line with his character of what they've shown us about him. He's the gambler. He loves to gamble. He wants that thrill and that rush. Doesn't seem like he's petulant in the way that like Tarakane is petulant when he loses that big bet. He accepted the terms of the bet. He liked to risk what he wanted to risk. He wanted the reward. He lost, and he just is more than accepting of that.
Mm-hmm.
I was also kind of in this episode when Koenma shows up and they're having a conversation. I was totally expecting a reveal, brother kind of thing.
Yeah, or like you're the old detective
Yeah.
kind of thing.
That would have been actually crazy.
Yeah.
But I guess it is kind of a little anticlimactic that he does off himself. Um, I feel like it's kind of like a what is it, seppuku thing, where it's just
Yeah.
more of an honor. I guess it's an honor thing. I don't really know, but
You mean like the suicide?
yeah, whatever that's
Seppuku
called.
or some shit like that?
Yeah. I mean, took the I don't want to say the coward's way out, but in terms of that on level of honor system, I would say
Yeah.
yes. I don't agree with that, but that honor system would probably say so. Okay.
Whatever. His ass got beat, bro. Fuck it.
That's true. That's true. Speaking of someone else, I got the ass beat. We did mention it too with Kuwabara, but we know that he lives. He ends up living. He's healed by Yukina.
His girlfriend.
Yeah,
That was a
they're-
great reaction.
They're having this little kindling, and
Yeah.
before we get so they're on the boat, which was funny because you can hear little bits of his conversation with her. But before that, I'm curious of what you guys thought of Yukina and Hiei's conversation.
I mean,
Yeah, so that was weird.
they're
And
definitely
actually,
brother and sister.
I Googled like the
Don't-
truth.
I don't want to know.
I mean, it's like it's kind of weird. Like he never
Tells her.
like it never goes past that. But like it is his sister.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Even though he denies it, I knew. It's just there's no way. Like I don't know
Doesn't
why.
make any
Even
sense.
he says
I don't know why I'm
he
honest.
says to her as well, "Do you understand?" And she's like, "I do understand," as if she does understand that that's her brother, but they're just never going to acknowledge it. Maybe it's for the protection of her. Maybe he is.
I think it has to do with the fact that he's become this like killing machine.
Yeah, and he doesn't want her.
and he doesn't want her to associate her
Yeah, it's got to be
like with
something
him.
along those lines. But I did think it was weird that he denied being the brother, because it was just I feel like so pushed into us that it was going to be brother sister.
I mean, they were they're twins.
They're twins. I mean, their eyes are literally the fucking same. So
Yeah, that
Yeah.
Was, I
Yeah.
thought that was
it
funny.
was interesting. It was
And then
interesting.
at the back end of that, like you guys have already mentioned, is he turns and he's like, I'm one of their nakama type of deal. And Kurama, obviously, throughout this episode, he's helpful. He even tells Yusuke that he still owes him one. And he's
Right, they were kind of boys ever since
he feels
Yusuke helped with his mom.
kind-hearted. Exactly. So that definitely also felt like, okay, we'll see where this goes.
Hiei returns the dagger to Kurama, which I
Correct.
wonder if they'll get into that in season 2, because now all 3 of those objects are where they're supposed to be, right?
Yeah,
I kind
and
of
that was-
forgot about all that shit.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
they didn't do I wouldn't say a great job of keeping them relevant. Not, I guess, that
Well-
they really necessarily needed to.
Yeah, we had bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, but I just wonder if those will come back. Well, I'm sure they'll come back. I would hope so, at least.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those like the initial crime that leads you to uncover a bigger conspiracy.
Right. Also, what was going back to the Toguro Genkai before they have their interaction? Koenma is in his like castle, whatever, and he watches a scroll go.
That was the
into-
dagger.
Okay, so the dagger was
Oh.
just wrapped in like a cloth
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, I
that's
think so.
interesting.
Because
I
I thought it was
I took
something
that, I
to
took
do
that
with
as that was Togoro's.
Togoro's soul, right? Because
soul.
earlier,
body,
shit.
like-
because earlier we had seen him like sorting through them, and yeah, okay, that's what I
No,
wasn't sure.
actually, you're definitely right. Because wasn't what the chick said right after like interesting how he chose like
Yeah, that they
the-
were talking about Toguro.
so it was
while-
definitely Togoro's
Okay.
scroll. I thought it was just like the dagger in its
Yeah.
case, but fuck it.
Yeah,
solid ending, man.
yeah. The final scene is just Keiko and Yusuke are having a little chat. The only reason I bring this up is because
They didn't
Um,
kiss.
is Kuwabara in the back trying to convince Yukina that he wasn't scared. You can just hear the conversation happening in the back with the subtitles, and she's like, "It's okay. Like I knew you were scared," and he was like trying to tell her that he wasn't. Funny because he's a clown.
And then Hiei's like, she's too good for you, and he's like, what?
Yeah. And then of course, like when Keiko and Urameshi are done with their conversation, Kurobara kind of just goes up to Yusuke and is like pointing at Hiei, like Yusuke cares at all about your fucking beef with Hiei, and he's just like, Hiei said this to me, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
nah, I like our squad though. I mean, it is a good overall squad. It still feels like Hiei, if anybody, is not one of them. I feel like definitely Kurama is welcomed into the squad. In Kurobara's there, but Hiei was always just a distant one. But it was still kind of funny that he was just like, yeah, those are my nakama, and it's like,
It was just a little out of place. It came out of nowhere. I did not expect him to have those feelings, but I mean, they had
Keeps
a
it
life.
close to the chest.
they had a life-threatening experience together.
I genuinely am
Near-death
curious if they'll
experience.
continue with season 2. I just feel like there wasn't enough attention given to the show for them to be able to want to do season 2. Again, it was good. I'm glad I watched it, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I've always wanted to dip my toes into YuYu, but with just it being a little older and with new stuff coming out, I've never fully committed to it. But this was a good example. But I just feel like I haven't heard, like, it came out, people were hype about it, and then
Yeah.
it left as soon as it came into the world.
It's tough. I mean, they could almost, they're on track to do like 3 seasons, cover the entire 3 seasons of 15 total episodes and cover like the
That
entire
would be
thing.
fine. I would, if they, I'll watch it, to be honest. To be honest, I
Yeah.
will gladly watch it, but I just
Yeah.
don't think
I'm
they'll
curious
have
too,
enough
yeah.
steam.
I don't know. I haven't read, like you're saying, a single thing about
Like, people were hype again.
reception to it, and
it
it's.
came
I
out.
mean, I wonder how much money it costs to make and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, that plays a role. So I guess we'll just have to see.
I was actually a little bit. I wasn't. I don't want to. This is not like a negative take. The last final moments of the season, I was like, okay, it was like fine. It wrapped it up nicely. Those last 2 minutes or so, and I was thinking to myself, like, damn, they really just made it like they could end it here if they want to, so that it's not renewed for a second season. And I wish there were like more hints at like the next arc.
Yeah, I was gonna just.
But then
actually
you
say-
say that they showed Elder Toguro, but
but that's really
still
it,
not
though.
enough.
It was just like it almost was like a more of a meme rather than them, like, I feel like, implying that he was coming back ready than ever. It was just literally his head getting pecked at by a seagull, and he was just like, "Get off me!"
Was
It
he
was
like animated? Like, was he like, did his mouth move and
like
shit?
his eye, yeah, like his
Like his face
It looked
moved?
like Two-Face almost. Like half his face was fucked up, and you could see part of his eye and his mouth, but he was talking and shit.
Mm.
Yeah, honestly, the
but
more I'm
you're
thinking
right.
about it is, yeah, this could be just a closed loop 5 episodes. Like they stopped the hole from being opened.
Right, because I'm thinking like, okay, this hole's done. Toguru's gone.
The
Sakyo's
items are
gone.
returned.
Like, what? Yeah, there's no demon, so he's not going to be the spirit detective right now. So what the fuck is going to happen? And that's where I was like, are they planting seeds for season 2 or not?
I think they were. Okay, sorry, they weren't planting seeds, but I know they definitely would like to do season
Right.
2. Obviously, like they were. I think there was like they planned to do it season 2, but I think you're also right that they kind of maybe expected almost that season 2 might not come around, and they ended this in a spot that could just end.
Yeah, I have to say, and it's kind of sad. I'm not even though I have my gripes with the show or opinions. Like I still would like to see a second season to come out to give them a chance to do more with the story. When you Google it, there's like fucking nothing.
Yeah.
There's like
Yeah.
nothing except for like when it got dropped, and some Reddit correspondence, and that's about it. And
Yeah.
it's
To the 2
little
people listening,
disheartening.
we love you guys.
Yeah, shout out to you. I mean, it's interesting because a lot of the questions that you guys had, like you guys are thinking, obviously this is more than one season. You're thinking about things they brought up and concepts of the world, and the next arcs like directly address questions that you guys have had and things you guys have brought up.
Yeah, I bet it does.
Yeah, so I think you guys would enjoy finishing it out, whether that is waiting for the live action news or just diving in on your own. I mean, we're at, I want to say, like around like episode 90 something and chapter like 120 something maybe
Mhm.
already after these 5 episodes, which is pretty crazy. So
Yeah.
Just a
So
thought.
we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll pick up some steam. I mean, who knows?
The people have
Just
been
a thought.
waiting on your score, your IMDb
true.
rating.
Because I
Yeah.
said that earlier.
Yeah, you did. So you
Craving.
can
The
go
4
first and-
people listening are craving that review right now.
We have
That could
live
be-
listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the Zoom. You can't see them. They're in the background.
They're like, yo, chat.
Yeah, chat.
Yo,
All
chat.
right, what do you got for us?
Okay. As a live action, through the lens of a live action anime adaptation, I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
I would agree with that, but if I'm just
It's like a Western
excluding- if I'm
TV watcher. It's like
excluding that frame though of like in terms of live action, if I'm just saying this as a TV show, I'll give it like a 6.5. But
exactly.
through the eyes of like as a live action, definitely a 7. That's probably a comfortable spot for me.
I think lens of live action, I'd give it I would say 7.5.
Yeah, I was kind of
I
floating.
think if I
there.
didn't know the story I would probably even be higher on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to a 7.5, to be honst. I was debating that.
I'm at a 7.
I think a big part of that too is because the choreography of the fighting was just so good that like that's what you would want out of a live action. Like if you can nail
Definitely.
that, that's a huge part of what I would consider a score for it, especially with how this show is.
Definitely.
In terms of just like any old TV show, yeah, 6.5 for a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, for regular TV, like if I like my mom would probably give this shit like a 5. But,
Yeah, I would
But
never
fair.
tell
that
my
doesn't
parents to
count.
watch this. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think like if you're expecting that content, like that kind of content, 7 out of 10 is a fair rating. I mean,
Yeah.
it was not like poorly done by any means necessary.
Yeah,
And like you
I would
said, the
tell Luke
choreography.
Paul.
Yeah.
I would tell Luke Paul B Toms if they find themselves looking for a quick show they want to binge to just knock these 5 episodes down.
Check it
and see what
out.
they
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that's gonna conclude YuYu Hakusho. We've wrapped up YuYu and Juju in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that national nightmare is over of me mixing those up constantly.
You still
And
might.
That's true. I might, but I won't. In our next show that we're currently covering, which is Solo Leveling, that anime has finally released after what's felt like probably at least 2-3 years of us hearing that news. So we're finally covering that. We're gonna do that. I think we're doing 2 episodes a week, or I'm sorry, 2 episodes an episode. So we'll drop an episode every 2 weeks.
They'll be over recording this weekend, posted next week.
Yeah. So we'll cover episodes 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6 and 7. That's how those numbers
I
work.
forget how many episodes I saw Solo Leveling was. I think I think I saw something on the shorter end. Surprisingly,
Okay.
I think I
Like
saw like
12.
15, 12 or 15.
Okay.
Fuck it.
I guess we'll see. We'll just see what
Mhm.
happens. So, and also mentioning that we do more than anime here at Bingetown TV. We're currently covering True Detective, which just came out on HBO Max, Percy Jackson on Disney Plus. We wrapped up Murder at the End of the World on Hulu recently, Jack Reacher on Amazon Prime. We're literally hitting almost every subscription service you can think of. So if you're into more than just anime TV shows and you're looking for more content about those shows, stick around. Bingetown TV, we got a home for you. We got a place for you here. And the best way to find all of that content of ours is going to be bingetowntv.com. I recommend it only in the sense that there's a tab on the website that just organizes every show that we've covered in alphabetical order. And you could just get a nice little array there, and then you could just click on them and you can go find the episodes that way. Just a little easier to search that way than just on the huge Bingetown TV main feed. But also subscribing to that main feed is going to keep you up to date with every show we're covering. We're all over the place. We have a bunch of separate feeds out there. So there's a lot of content for you to enjoy from Bingetown TV, and we would be very grateful if you would continue enjoying it, just like you enjoyed YuYu Hakusho. Once again, we are Bingetown TV, and thank you for listening.